Society is constructed in a complex hierarchy where people are discriminatively positioned with differential access to power, status, capital, and opportunities. In some areas, people are so deprived of legitimate resources that they take socially disapproved means as their sensible ways of survival. Some turn to substance abuse as a retreat from productive life. The anime perspective looks at substance abuse as resource, opportunity, or means in people's reaction to their specific social structural conditions. Substance may be used to achieve material success, to gain social status, or to escape from active social functioning. Emil Durkheim coined the concept of anime. In order for people to live together in groups in society, norms and moral authorities need to be developed and established to keep individual aspirations, passions, and desires in check. In a traditional society or mechanical solidarity, people live in closely knit communities where anime rarely occurs. In contemporary society or organic solidarity, people live in increasing distance from one another as well as from the state. Religion has lost most of its power and government has become its tool and servant. Individuals caught in a normative vacuum between the remote state and unscrupulous individualism are likely to commit anomic deviance or offense or fall victim of anomic suicide. During transition times from mechanical to organic solidarities, people experience disruption, contradiction, loss of direction, and frustration in their thoughts and acts. This is also a period where human greed is unleashed. A major shift took place when Robert Merton redefined anime as the structured disparity between promises of achievable prosperity and real-life opportunities to realize those promises. Merton focused on the socially structured disjuncture between culturally inspired aspirations and socially approved means for goal attainment. Merton's general theory of deviance seems to imply that deviation is a choice for those who experience strain as they strive for success in the legitimate world.
My name is Jasmine Becca, and I'll be continuing sources of inspiration for anime. Merton's general theory of defiance implies deviation is a choice for those who experience strain as they strive for success in the legitimate world. Richard Cloward and Lloyd Holland believed resources and opportunities are not equal to everyone who seeks them. Because of specific environments, youth experience blocked opportunities, and conventional society will engage in different activities, forms different groups, and develop different modes of adaptation to life. The different environments mentioned were environments dominated by for-profit criminal groups. Alienated youths may serve their apprenticeship with professional gangs. They may also join crime-oriented gangs, learn skills and disciplines, aim to make profit, keep a reputation, and earn a living from crime and deviance. Environments where adult criminals are largely unskilled, unsuccessful, and disorganized leave youth with no role models, no live examples, no technical teachings, and no organizational assistance for material success through illegitimate means. These youth tend to resort to conflict-oriented gangs, joining conflict-oriented gangs. And lastly, an environment clouded by an overwhelming sentiment of failure, despair, and normlessness leave youth feeling withdrawn from active and productive life in both conventional and deviant worlds. They tend to take refuge in retreatist-oriented gangs and center attention on consumption of substances due to concern with physical and emotional highs. They're also coined double failures. Albert Cohen did research with delinquent boys and found that lower-class boys want to achieve success and higher social status just as much as their middle and upper-class counterpoints. He names 3 groups, which was the college boy response, who defer gratification, go to school, take up an occupational career, and attempt to conform to all other middle-class expectations. Then the corner boy response, who give up competing with middle-class society and retreat to their specific lower-class subculture for some doses of self-perceived peace and comfort, which included behaviors of truancy, smoking, alcohol consumption, and drug use. Lastly, there was the delinquent boy response, who act out in open defiance to middle-class views, intentionally or unintentionally engage in behaviors deemed delinquent, malicious, or antisocial by mainstream society. Cohen's work expanded autonomy as a theory that is more than atomistic or individualistic as it appeared in Merton's formulation. It was more of a step-by-step process in response to the person's environment. Criminal deviance is not only practical and utilitarian, but also malicious, destructive, and harmful, not only by consequences, but also in terms of intentionality. Substance use and abuse. Early studies centered on general assumption that drug users drop out into the retreated subculture after unsuccessful exploration of both legitimate and illegitimate avenues of goal attainment. Empirical data indicates more by drug availability than by the individual reaction to strain. As drugs are expensive and not easy to obtain, users have to work hard within the structures of both conventional and criminal worlds should they persist in their use habit. Studies that address neglect of everyday stress by classic autonomy theories. There's an article, Substance Use and Misuse. A number of researchers explore the fluctuation or temporal patterns of alcohol and substance use in relation to stress. Hoffman, 2000, Shear and Botman, 1996. Minority youth engage in substance use, sensation-seeking, and unsafe behavior because they face social, political, and economic setbacks in addition to normal adolescent transition pressures. Agdorn, 2007, empathetically characterizes gang drug dealing as an innovative response of young minority males to blocked opportunity rather than participation in a deviant oppositional culture. Garcia, 1999, argues children who are subjected to racism, sexism, physical, mental abuse, inferior, dangerous schools, and abandonment to foster care from birth are doomed to lives of hopelessness, deviance, and drug use. Sharp, Turling, Watt, Atkins, Gilliam, and Sanders, 2001, note that negative affective stress such as anger and depression intervene in the relationship between strain variables and some prototypically female types of deviant behavior, including purging, bulimia, and substance use. And lastly, Zemny, 2000, examines alcoholism and morality in Poland and Eastern Europe with reference to Russia. Escapist reaction through alcohol and substance abuse by people who share feelings of tension, alienation, despair, and uncertainty amid unemployment, currency devaluation, food shortages, and general social malaise.
Theoretical components. The anime perspective categorizes substance users by social structural conditions they face in their lives. There are 4 theoretical components in this perspective. The first one is anime, confusion versus strain. Anime can take place either in the form of normlessness, lack of direction, and confusion, or in the form of frustration, disappointment, and strain. Moral confusion occurs in various circumstances, such as overregulation, lack of regulation, conflicting regulation, and change in regulation. Conformity strain ranges from status strain, success strain, and role strain to non-fault strain. Substance and substance use, resource, opportunity, and/or means. Users may purposely seek assistance from substance use or unwittingly fall victim of a substance in the lowest moment of their free will. Resource refers to the potential and practical utility of substance use, and substance dealing in improving the prospect of material success and enhancing status. Opportunity states that individuals cite a substance in their explanation for job dereliction, neglect of duty, delay in schedule, and inadequate performance. Means focuses on the effects of substance and substance use in helping people manage stress, cope with difficult situations, and keeping things under control. People may explore every possible substance for answers and solutions to problems they face. For example, people take painkillers when they feel pain in their bodies and swallow sleeping pills when they have trouble sleeping. People refer to their use of drugs when they quit a job, escape their family, and withdraw from other social responsibilities. Substance and substance use becomes an excuse from external pressures for success and responsible role playing. People use substances to look young, look beautiful, or just fit in everyday life, to be productive or competent, and to remain positive and respectful, with the danger of misuse or abuse because there are pressures on appearance, performance, and general social functionality.
And I will be doing theoretical framework and theoretical image. Anami's perspective focuses between the individual's aspirations and social resources in its quest for understanding substance use and abuse. We have cultural assimilation and socialization that cause moral confusion. There are two extremes. In the first extreme, we see people who think they are above rules and portray superhero figures who are above anyone else. They believe they can do whatever they want and desire. However, in the second extreme, individuals who are handicapped or been enslaved put themselves in situations where they stay away from social regulations. Both of these extremes can lead to alienation and strain, which cause substance use and abuse. Social endeavors raise questions about self-expectation, ability, control, image, and social fairness. Substance uses figure opportunity or in a social individual dynamic. Addiction has become part of the social norms, which is usual and accepted by society, even though it is wrong. Theoretical image, people are seduced by substances when they experience weak or losing moral guidance. There are many reasons why people use and abuse substances. For example, many might be going through economic hardships. Others may be facing anxiety, which leads to them drinking and using drugs in order to escape reality. People choose to ignore the law because law enforcement is sympathetic to rule breakers and will not give a harsh punishment compared to criminals. Substance users can be considered stressed, confused, and lost because they are not able to cope with society and the expectations they have set. We are able to see throughout history that people just follow the crowd regardless if they have the opposite beliefs. There is a strain between motivation and constraint, expectation and outcome, and between dream and reality.
Enemy and substance use, individual adjustment. Moral confusion and strain are part of people's experiences. Substance use is an individual act, no matter how the social environment impacts the sustenance of enemy and substance use. It is ultimately the individuals who are responsible for the actions that they take in response to the social situations they are faced with. Ways individuals respond to particular social situations internally. Some individuals will draw on past experiences, rituals, or activities that bring a sense of normlessness to a complex situation. Others will remain calm, letting time take care of the matter. Try finding new ways to embrace a situation. Confusion may occur, but never manifest into a depressing condition. Similarly, individuals will adjust goals, standards, aspirations, and professional pursuits into a long-term perspective. This will dampen the instincts about success, and some will decide to recast their life to strive toward peace. Anxiety, stress, and senses of tiredness or boredom may flash, but never grows into a feeling of despair. Substance use becomes an option for those with knowledge of the effects and access to substance and dealer. Ways individuals respond to particular social situations externally. In the case of moral confusion, some may seek spiritual or religious conversions. In response to pressure for success, people may focus on inner forces such as exercise. In a retreatist path, others will withdraw from a secular life by becoming a nun, monk, drug-free vagrant, or homeless person. Enemy and substance use, social conditioning. Enemy in institutions is not held to an ultimate standard of rationality or coherence, which allows many inconsistencies, ambiguities, contradictions, loopholes, and contamination from personal biases. Aside from moral confusion, resources and opportunities are unequally distributed across the population, causing strain on all individuals. Some will accumulate wealth, much wealth, and status. This will create a feeling that they are above the norm and that they must do anything to keep this at all costs. Others will be so poor and powerless they will not know whether they have anything to eat or will not know how to find the next meal. This strain is obviously produced and reproduced socially. The connection from enemy to substance and substance use is also made in large part by social conditions. First, substance is differentially available across the globe. To some areas of production and supply, some are corridors of trafficking and transport, some are places of trade and exchange, some are destinations for consumption. Second, substance use is differentially favored by culture for substance use and substance growth, with different patterns of selection by people in varying geographic locations. Alcohol abuse increases among Russians in their social transformations from communism to capitalism. First, because alcohol has been their default substance for coping. Finally, individuals are born to different communities with different levels of knowledge, accesses to substance use, and drug dealing. This allows some individuals to turn to drug dealing for material success.
When using theoretical applications, a variety of questions can be asked to further understand the human mind and its behavior. The first question, are human beings liable or vulnerable to substance use and abuse? The second question, are substance abuse natural and necessary conditions corresponding to anomie? The third question, do substance use and abuse serve to correct or reverse the condition of anomie? The last question, do substance use and abuse confirm or reinforce a situation of confusion or strain? When using empirical tests, the anomie perspective creates opportunities for empirical research. Case studies follow individual users to see if they fall into substance use and abuse for reasons such as life confusion, stress, or by choice. One example, one uses a substance when he or she faces a temporary but big strain in life. He or she passes through that stressful episode but then becomes dependent on that substance. Things such as confusion, restraint, and the idea of retreat often come and go in life, while substance abuse often stays as a habit or health concern. Historical analysis can be applied to study users, groups, and societies. From childhood to adulthood, an individual can experience status frustration, which can be heavily linked to substance abuse. Interviews and surveys are key elements in revealing how anomie and substance use relate to each other. Anomie is what individuals experience in their inner world, while substance abuse is an individual act. Interviews target selected users, while surveys cover a larger population. Experimental studies examine biochemical balance or imbalance among subjects. For example, too much or too little of a specific body chemicals may be linked to substance abuse.
Hello, my name is Sophia and I'm going to be doing policy implications. Okay, for the first bulletin we have anonymity perspective. It digs into individual experience and social climate to understand substance use and abuse. Users get their individual experience from social interactions. Users can change their personal experience through social participation. Social agencies and agents must embrace both individuals and their social surroundings when dealing with substance and substance-related problems. The second part is public health. Professionals and officials can benefit from the anonymity perspective in two ways. In prevention, they can design programs to educate the public about strain, life events, and social change. Stress is explored with respect to its source, type, nature, and coping strategies. Long-term monitoring and short-term campaigns are implemented for groups at risk with special needs. It is important to ensure that people develop proper tolerance for the routinely high level of stress in contemporary life and be prepared to deal with different types of stresses through a diverse repertoire of approaches with or without aid of substance. The second one is intervention. Health officials and professionals can focus on counseling, psychiatric diagnosis, trauma, reaction, and mental illness. Treatment for service improvement and enhancement. Stress needs the same timely diagnosis and effective treatment as bodily disease. Stress involves both physical and non-physical dimensions. Diagnosis needs to be based upon full examination of all relative factors and possible aspects. Stress can be acute as well as chronic. Stress is a comprehensive medical problem that needs to go beyond medicine to incorporate emotional, spiritual, and social situations. Medication and use of substance may be useless if they are not paired with psychological counseling, moral guidance, and social support. Lastly, medicine can cause substance dependency.
Social control. Social control guarantees social order, but it can also become a source of confusion, stress, and disorder as well. Social control agencies and agents help minimize the public confusion and frustration by making these laws clear, accessible, and understandable to society. Laws are made by career politicians. There are unfair laws, discriminatory rules, and irrational regulations that cause confusion and pain to the people under their influence. It's clear now that there is not a lot of equality legally when it comes to certain laws that are made. Enforcement. An important issue that is not also equally applied is enforcement. Certain groups of people and areas have become targeted for scrutiny, while other areas do not get enough security or monitoring by law enforcement. Unfair law enforcement causes injustice and loss of safety. It is up to social control agents to help overcome the stereotypes and also stop profiling when it comes to age, gender, race, ethnicity, education, income, or any type of socioeconomical variable. How social control agents mediate between the people and the state. The way that social control agencies and agents work help the people perceive how they feel about the government, authority, and the entire social control system and their attitude towards it. They can create an image of a caring government, protective authority, and a society of justice. Social control agents can also create a government seen as repressive and dominant towards the people. Social control agents must treat all citizens with passion and respect. They should put their importance on education and protection, also serve as role models to the general public. A social control that cares can help unite the people. Social conflict and strain and anomaly can be controlled, which may help and end substance use and abuse under control.
I'm doing the section on life and community. And to start off with life, life itself is unpredictable. The basic features of life consist of confusion, disappointment, frustration, and failure. In order to manage favorable events throughout life, an individual must have a systematic view of themselves pertaining to their abilities, resources, social positions, ambitions, accomplishments, and goals. Individuals must set in motion basic understandings of essential contrasts in life. For example, long-term versus short-term, part versus whole, past versus future, outside versus inside, personal versus social, and appearance versus substance. Individuals need to be calm, strong, self-confident, and have proper preparation as well as tolerance for anomic incidences. For a community, neighbors must treat each other as neighbors. Individuals must overcome prejudice, avoid stereotyping, and embrace diversity within their communities. A minor gesture can convey an important message to those around you. So, for example, intervening in a situation and sharing unity and peace with a neighbor. So, for instance, if a couple is fighting, calling the police, going over to help are some examples of doing so. So, in conclusion, stress and anomie are generated and disposed in life as well as throughout the community. One can manage anxiety, crisis, emergency, and other problems without falling victim to substance by maintaining proper attitudes and proper actions. So, with mutual concern and support, neighbors can come together during difficult times to protect their community from substance abuse. Thank you.
Work and organization. Work is a source of success, status, and quality of life for an individual, but it can also be a source of stress, anxiety, and anomie. Work from the anomie perspective, the individual should 1. Understand what they can and can't realistically accomplish within their reach. 2. Need to overcome the temptation to dream, target, and achieve high. 3. Avoid the tendency for self-sufficiency and getting too comfortable. 4. Build a dynamic view of success and failure that comes with work. 5. Balance work into proper perspective with family, relationships, and other life engagements. Work organizations from the anomie perspective. The work organization should 1. Establish a fair, ethical system of recruitment, evaluation, promotion, and discipline. 2. Provide employees with clear guidelines on their job duties, benefits, and upward mobility. 3. Make necessary work information and counseling services accessible at all times to employees. 4. Serve as a source of inspiration for an employee in his or her career endeavors. If work organizations and employees follow these approaches, a critical amount of anomie can be taken away from the general population. This can make the population less vulnerable for problem behaviors like substance use and abuse. Substance use and abuse from the anomie perspective. The perspective examines the relationship between social conditions and individual adjustments in its analysis of substance use and abuse. It reveals how anxiety, stress, failure, and other anomie issues can be caused by flawed laws, biased policies, and unequal distribution of wealth and power. It shows how individuals can turn to substances as coping mechanisms in response to the problems in their social environment. The perspective claims one way to reduce substance abuse and use is by improving social resources and opportunities for general population. The individual can reduce substance use and abuse by understanding life is a difficult process with many ups and downs. Lastly, the perspective explains the complexity of work and life in contemporary society, has added a new layer of strain amongst modern and postmodern individuals. Thus, the combination of high levels of anomie and trust in substance explain why substance abuse and use will remain to exist now and in the future.